Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Michigan Voice of College Football. I am your host, Dre. As you can see, I am going solo today. Desmond is enjoying a well deserved vacation with his wife. So we want to wish them a very relaxing and rejuvenating vacation as we now get closer towards the winter. So I'm sure a lot of you probably feel the same way, want to go out and get some fresh air and really enjoy the rest of the year. So, looks like the game is wrapping up right now. Michigan looks like it's going to win 34-3. Um, look, um, and Let's Toast Media. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Thank you once again for your uh, your continuous support of this platform. We really appreciate you. We really do. Um, But there's no huge takeaways from tonight's game. Um, Michigan took care of business. To be quite frank with you, it was a very boring game. Um, a lot of that due to the quality of the opponent, the fact that the opponent was on the third string quarterback, um, and it was very clear that going into the second half that Michigan was like, okay, Nebraska's on a third string quarterback. Let's just batten down the hatches. Let's be physical. Let's be conservative. Let's just get out of here with a win. Because offensively, they're not going to be able to keep up with us. So let's just wear them out and let's essentially, drown out this clock and get this game over with as safely as possible. Now, Keelan, I thank you for bringing that up. Unfortunately, there were a few guys that did get banged up today that we're going to have to keep our eye on as we approach November 26th, which is the Ohio State game. The game, probably the biggest game of the year this year in college football, based on outside of the Tennessee Georgia game, based on everything that's going to be on the line. So, yeah, but Mike Morris did limp off the field late in the fourth quarter. Um, he was able to do it with his own power, so that's a good sign. But we don't know the nature of the injury. Was it a cramp? Was it a twisted ankle? Was it a knee thing? We don't know. And unfortunately, time is really running out before we play Ohio State. So, um, you don't want it to be something that is, of course, that keeps them out. But you also worry about it being like a lingering injury. We need all hands on deck versus Ohio State. So you really hope that it's something that he can rest up with, get treatment, and be ready to go almost 100% versus Ohio State. So, and I don't think he'll be needed for the opponent next week in Illinois. Illinois looks like they're reeling right now. They just lost their second game in a row. Last week was MSU. This week it was Purdue. Um, After essentially looked like they're about to run away with the Big Ten West. So they're going to be limping into this game versus Michigan. So I didn't really have any concerns before Illinois started to fall on their face, but I definitely don't even have a even real intrigue in the game because it's clear that Illinois is not going to be even a remote threat to this team. As long as Michigan does what they do and they don't beat themselves, they should win pretty easily next week as well. Now, um, I want to address this comment. Dre, do you think we should run sets with both Corum and Edwards? Using Edwards as a fake jet sweep run pass option, he would definitely attract attention from the defense. Absolutely. Look, you can never have enough athletes on the field, and anytime you have two threats that are in the backfield, the defense has to account for that. And they actually do things very similar. They both are pretty good at catching the ball out the backfield. Now, of course, Donovan is a better receiver than Blake Corum. Like, you can line up Donovan Edwards outside as a wideout, and he would look just as effective, or if more effective, as a wideout, right? But no, I think that's a really good option for this coaching staff. Um, I think one thing that continues to concern me, um, and some of you have downplayed it over the year, throughout the year, excuse me, but JJ and his inaccuracy at times. I know there's a couple times where there was some miscommunication with the receivers, being in the same area, and it looks worse on JJ because of how the throw looks like it went to no one. But I just, once again, you're seeing him overshoot guys down the field. It's just concerning, man, because look, this offense is not pass the ball a ton. We all know that. That point has been constantly talked about. But when we do, you have a chance, and we have some guys open and a chance to hit one of those explosive plays down the field, we got to connect as much as we can, and he continues to show the inability to do that. To have the right touch is either not enough steam or too much. And for a kid to be as talented as he was projected to be, we continually see flashes but no consistency. Flashes but no consistency, and that is concerning. Now, is this offense more dynamic with him on the center compared to a Cade McNamara or anybody else? Absolutely, but you still have to be able to hit the easier throws, right? And I just believe that in a game like we're going to have November 26th, he's going to have to be able to do it. And that's going to be very tough to do when you haven't had a lot of success up to this point in the season. So it is something to think about. It's something to be scared about, to shake your boots about, to have night sweats. No, because it's not the strength of this team. However, you do have to think about it and just wonder, man, what if we're put in a situation where we have to pass the ball more? Is JJ prepared to do that? We'll find out. We'll find out. Let's see. I know JJ misses a few, but God, these receivers need to make some plays. Look, I agree with you on that. Look. It's rare when a negative play or lack of a play being made is 100% on one person, right? A lot has to go right for an explosive play to work. And no doubt, over the last couple of weeks, there's been moments where JJ has made the right throw and an accurate throw, and guys have dropped the ball. I agree with you on that. But that doesn't excuse, and I'm not saying you are saying that. You do note that he does miss a few, but I'm just talking about others who have excused it. It doesn't excuse the times where guys are wide open and he's overshooting them. He has to be better than that, especially because he is so talented. If he was a guy, a kid who was an average quarterback and you knew he had limitations, I wouldn't be harping on it as much. But he should be able to be better than this, right? And we're going to need him to be better than this. Absolutely. I know we got the fart. Oh, Chuck. I don't know if it's trolling. I've tried to learn, as you guys know, I get triggered easily when people do this, and I'm trying to learn to not take the bait. Chuck, no one is saying that Michigan is bad. We're all happy where we are. But in the midst of this great season that we're having, it's worth noting that, okay, my apologies. No, okay, my apologies. But anyway, to anybody who does think like I was assuming Chuck was, because we do have some of you guys out there, Michigan's doing really well. We're exactly where we want to be, but there are definitely some things to tie up, and look, we can't overstate enough where, what it's going to take, to win in C-Bus. I agree with you, Big Bubba. Illinois, it's interesting. There's been some scenarios where people have thrown out there, well, what if Michigan falls short at OSU, right? We won this game. We take care of Illinois next week, going to Columbus 11-0. And let's say we lose a nail biter. But we don't get the chance to compete for the conference championship. due to this West East division. It's ridiculous. It's clear as day that the two best teams by far in the entire Big Ten is Michigan and OSU. And if anything, no matter what happens on November 26th, we all know it probably should be a rematch anyway in the conference championship to really prove who's the best of the conference, but that's just not reality. But anyway, yeah, it's unfortunate. Michigan had a very, very weak non-conference schedule. And let's say we lose at OSU, and we played, we're 11-1. There's a really good chance that could be used against us in terms of keeping us out of the CFP without having a conference championship. But look, we'll cross that bridge if we get to it. And, Michigan will be able to avoid that scenario if they're able to take care of their business versus OSU. And I guess that's just how it's going to have to go. Antoine, good to see you, brother. Thank you for, joining us again. Michigan played a sloppy game and still destroyed Nebraska. Oh, absolutely. Well, Nebraska is bad. There's no doubt about that. They're bad and they're on their third string quarterback. It's just they just didn't really have much of a chance at all today. And it wasn't that just Michigan played sloppy. They played sloppy and extremely conservative. I mean, they just literally they came out in the second half and they were like, you know what? Let's just hand the ball off, lean on them, and we'll win this game pretty easily. And that's what happened. They had no chance. But and to be honest with you, the main thing I was looking for this game, and really next week as well, is health. Because I know that Des and I we come to you guys every week and we talk about what are some things this team has done well, and things they have not done as well that can keep them from reaching their goals, winning the Big Ten again, possibly winning the national championship, like expanding the passing game, expanding the playbook in general. But look, we're 10 games into the season now. This team is who they is. This coach staff are who they are. They're going to run the same type of approach every single week. So, and most likely they're not going to get much better at this point. Now, you get much better from week 1, week 2 to week 8, sure, but you're not going to get much better from week 10 to week 12, right? So they are who they are. So in terms of getting better week to week, I'm not really too focused on that at this point. The main thing is health. Keeping guys healthy today's game and trying to keep guys as healthy after next week's game. And today we dealt a blow. Mike Morris, he limped off the field. And as I mentioned when I first started the stream, hopefully it is something that he can, hey, if he has to sit out next week, great. Sit out, rest up that leg, get right, baby, because we need you. He is not only one of our best pass rushers, it's clear that he's one of the emotional leaders on this team, and they need him on the field. So he's vital to what we want to do and who we are. And yesterday they are who they are. And this is part of my maturity process. Growing, right, Marcus? I'm trying to grow like we all should be growing, right? Is realizing and accepting Michigan in their style for what it is. Now, I would never stop advocating for being more diverse, right? Because there's nothing wrong with that. You can have your strength, but you never know when you have to, mix it up and give a counterpunch, a little 1-2 punch, something that your opponent is not expecting. Because at some point it will be needed. It just will. That's just how it works. It's hard to win at a high level for long term doing essentially the same thing. It's really, really hard, especially when your opponents are the quality of your opponents is a lot better than you really played all year, right? So that's why it's important to always keep in mind what can happen, right? And you think about a game like the Georgia game last year. Michigan didn't really have a counterpunch. to their offense. And I know that was the CFP, and we'll all take just having another appearance again this year. But that's what you need to learn from those type of things. You need to learn that, okay, look, Michigan, our strength, our brand, our identity is physicality. It is running the football. It is controlling the time of possession. However, if you so happen to stymie us, we do have something in our back pocket that we can rely on. Maybe not to win the game for us, but at least to keep you thinking about it so we can continue to use our strength, right? So we'll take that. Mark, 10-0, McCarthy didn't fumble or get picked. It's 50% passing weather. He kept Nebraska honest. Michigan line was stronger. Great result. Well, I mean, there's a lot true here. McCarthy did not turn the ball over. We know that Michigan has one of the best offensive lines in the country, and they are 10-0. And look, I think all things being said, I mean, they're in a really good position to beat Ohio State. They are. Because one thing we also have to realize that Ohio State, they have their own issues too. And one of Michigan's biggest strength, I still believe, can exploit OSU's biggest weakness, which is running the football versus stopping the run. I believe that Michigan's offensive line's physicality, their finesse too, because they're also pretty agile for as big as they are. Still will be able to give that Ohio State front seven a lot of problems. On the flip side, however, this is where the health of Mike Morris is critical, because you're going to have to find a way to get to C.J. Stroud. Now, does that mean necessarily getting sacks all the time? No. But, keep his feet moving in that pocket, make him make throws on the run, and make him have to go through one or two progressions, right? Those things are going to be very, very important. Very, very important. And honestly, going to the game, if you wanted me to give you odds going to the game right now for myself, I give us a 50-50 shot. And I for both ways. I just believe, I can't speak for an Ohio State fan, but I feel like if you're not being pompous, and you're just looking at the game, these two teams and what they are, I think we both have legitimate reasons to feel confident going into the game and also have some concerns if we're both fan bases are being honest. And I guess we'll see. And as you know, I'm talking about Ohio State because, let's be honest, at this point in the season, that's what's on all our minds, right? Now, even though that's the main thing on our minds, it's important for the Michigan football players to not jump the gun. Am I saying that we're in danger of being upset next week? Absolutely not. But next week does fit the definition of a trap game. And this will be something that Des and I and probably Mark will probably go into on Wednesday's show. Because, look, Illinois is struggling right now. Just lost 2 in a row. So they're going to come into this game next week, struggling a little bit. Obviously, we all know what's on the horizon the following weekend. And so could Michigan kind of look at that and say, man, this team's not any good. I just want to get to Columbus. I'm chomping at the bit. Yes, that can happen. And I would I would very, very much hope so that this coaching staff keeps these kids focused, understanding that we take one opponent at a time. And look, ideally speaking, when Illinois comes into town next week, Michigan does something they haven't really done much of this year, which is another possible concern, which is have a strong first half. Put Illinois out of their misery. Let's rest our guys and get ready for the following week. As you guys saw today, even though Michigan won 34-3, halftime was 17-3. And one trend, and I'm not sure if you guys would agree, that I have noticed is that Michigan really no matter the opponent, especially once we got into the Big Ten, portion of the schedule tends to have very slow first halves. They don't really put their foot on the neck of teams in the first half, even when they are clearly more talented. Now, it hasn't bit them because they've been so good, no, not good, fantastic in the second half. The coaching staff, especially Jesse Minter and the defense, their second half adjustments is second to none. But you just don't want to create that habit, because what if you run into a situation in which that team in the first half is not, they're not coming out slow, right? They do kind of punch you in the mouth, and you're not quite humming yet. Ohio State's one of those teams that offensively has the ability to do that. Now, I'm not saying they will, but let's say Michigan is kind of, getting a feel for the game, and Ohio State maybe catches us off guard, and goes up 14-3 or something like that, and puts this Michigan team in a situation they're really not prepared for. You feel pretty good about the second half, but could that kind of deficit be too much, right? That's a nightmare scenario that can happen from having the trend of starting off slow, right? That's why it's very important to eliminate that kind of problem, that consistency of a problem. Let's see. Okay, don't say I didn't warn you guys. Hold on, GOJ. What are you talking about, baby? You're one of our Ohio State people here. We appreciate you. We really do. You can't base a team off this little brother mindset. Who are you referring to, GOJ? Oh, Illinois. And that is true. That is true. I would say, GOJ, and I actually said this earlier, a few weeks ago, at the time where Illinois seemed like they were surging, at least in the Big Ten West, which we all know is weak. That could be a potential game that Michigan has to watch out for, especially with it being a week before Ohio State. But unfortunately, they've really struggled the last 2 weeks, and they haven't looked nearly as proficient as they were earlier in the year. To lose to MSU and Purdue, those are not just tight losses; those are bad losses, man. Those are bad losses, and I'm not sure how Brett Bielema is going to galvanize his guys to have the juice to come in here and pull off an upset. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to just roll over, but I'm just not, really considering them at all. Let's see. Okay, you guys are going back and forth about Illinois. Oh gosh, it's Big Ten West. Look what you've done to us. Look what you had done to us. If you're just joining, thank you once again for tuning in to the post-game show. We are talking about today's game, but mostly kind of talking about where Michigan is as of now, and to be quite honest, the game, which is on the horizon in 2 weeks. It's really not much to say about today's game. Michigan took care of the business. Offense was very, 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 very vanilla. JJ, I would say, once again, had a mixed bag type of game. You continue to see the flashes, the really good arm, the really good mobility, the speed, like the touchdown he had in the third quarter, or second or third quarter. I can't, it escapes me, but he continues to be spotty with his accuracy at times. Maybe not selling certain RPO plays as he probably should, to keep the defense honest, knowing when to pull it, when not to pull it, etc. Defensively, it's kind of hard to judge a team when they're playing against, for one, a bad offense, not to mention that bad offense having their third string quarterback in. But hey, they only gave it 3 points. They did their job. And we know that Mike Morris was hobbled at the end of the game. So that's pretty much is the synopsis of this particular game. There was a brief moment during the game where Jim Harbaugh had some questionable time management going into halftime. And look, I won't say there's not any legitimacy to those claims, but it's one of those games where it's like it was in no way was it going to cost us this game, so it's not going to have the magnitude as it probably would if it did cost us the game. And I would say that Harbaugh hasn't had a lot of he hasn't shown a trend of doing consistent bad time management where I think it could be a bit of a concern in a higher leverage game, kind of like Ohio State. So I thought I'd just touch on that briefly. Marcus, we have the worst 2-minute drill in football. Yeah, well, I mean, when your offense is predicated on running the football, it's kind of hard to score the football in 2 minutes because what Michigan ideally wants to be able to do is to run the football, get 3 to 4 yards per carry, stay ahead of schedule, slowly work you down the field. By the time we get to the red zone, your legs are like jelly, you're fatigued, and this is where we're going to punch you in the mouth and score a touchdown. And after we score that touchdown, you're going to look up and you're going to see the clock, and 4 or 5 minutes has ticked off the clock. Ideally speaking, that's what Michigan wants to do offensively. And when your offense is predicated on doing that, it's hard to switch it up and go high tempo and play call that and do play calling that goes against the genesis of your offense. So I agree with you there, which is why it's important that we try to hopefully stay out of situations where we do got to score in 2 minutes. Let's see what else you guys said here. Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because this was Antoine, CJ at the doghouse. Yeah, I agree with you here. That's now talked about this a couple times over the last few weeks about CJ Stokes, who I believe after the Hawaii game or the Colorado State game, one of the games, he fumbled his first carry of the game, and he really didn't get much burn after that throughout the season. And part of it was doing Donovan that was coming back into the fold after being hurt. But look, they brought him back. I mean, he got a lot of burn today. It meant that he looked good. We know this offensive line is going to create some pretty good holes, and they did today. But he showed some really good burst, and that's important. It's important for future references to see, like, who's going to be that next guy to probably go in tandem with Donovan Edwards, with the assumption that Blake Corum goes to NFL after the season. So it feels good knowing that we have another talented running back in the stable to help carry the load next year, but also in the present. Look, both Blake and Donovan Edwards, especially Donovan Edwards, have been banged up at moments this season. So, you never know. It could be next week, Ohio State, the conference championship game, or playoff game, where CJ will need to step in and make plays, not just take a carry, but, show some bursts. Maybe gas or run play or two. And he showed that ability today. And look, you can never get enough playmakers. And I agree with you, Antoine. It was great to see him out there. And not only out there, but making plays and looking good. This is a pretty good question, Daniel G. I like this question. Do these defenses fear JJ? Probably not. I think that's a very fair question. Fear, no. I do believe they respect him because he has too much raw ability to not respect him. He's clearly athletic, and he has a very good arm. So it's too much talent not to respect him, but I don't believe they fear him. To have fear of a quarterback, of a player, they must consistently show the ability to game break and essentially put the game in their hands, and where there's really nothing you could do about it. JJ hasn't shown the ability to do that. Do I believe that's in there? Yes. But as of now, No, I don't think that he strikes fear in a defense. Look, because let's be honest, if I know that the quarterback has problems with inaccuracy and sometimes he can try to do a little too much, and um, I can use that to my advantage. I can use that to my advantage because I can look at like, okay, look, let's pressure him. Let's force him to make a quick decision. Let's make him feel like he has to make a big play, and possibly lead into a situation where he creates a turnover. So no, I don't think he fears people fear him, but respect absolutely. Let's see what else people said. I 100% agree with this. They may be able to get by with the way it is now, at least to get to the back to CFP. But if they want to take that additional step and win a national championship, no, I agree that has to get better. That has to get better. I've been high on JJ right this second. I'm not so sure. He didn't look right this week. And what happens, man, is sometimes we equate talent and potential with actual results and what reality is showing us. JJ McCarthy has the raw potential to be a star, the abilities to be a star, but has he put it all together on a consistent basis? Can he do that? That remains to be seen. The good part is that we see it's there, but there's nothing wrong with people like myself and Joe saying, wait a minute now, the kid is clearly talented, but when are we going to see this pot of ingredients for a star quarterback come together? Really come together and create that masterful, tasteful dish. I think that's fair to say. I really do. Uh, yeah, Chuck. I don't think people are jumping off the JJ bandwagon. I think it's just hey, people want to see a little bit more consistency. That's all. So Jesse asks, which quarterbacks in college football strike fear? Then that's a great question. And I would say that list isn't very long. Maybe Bryce Young, but even he can be inconsistent at times. Um, I would say Bryce. For me, speaking for myself, Bryce does strike fear in me, especially in the fourth quarter when his team is down or if it's tied, because he seems to have that X factor. No matter how the game is going, he's not a guy that you want the ball in his hands with the game on the line. You just don't want that if you're the opposing team. He's done it so many times where he's came through for Bama and led them on some miraculous drive to tie the game or to win the game. So um, he definitely strikes fear in me from that particular standpoint. But other than that, no one really else does. And that's not. I'm not saying that is the only barometer for if a guy is a really good quarterback or not. You could be a really good quarterback or even a good quarterback and not strike fear. To me, that's elite status. That's special status. Mm-hmm. Let's see what you guys are talking about here. And Marcus, I think this is fair. I think this is fair watching him today and watch him throughout this season since he's taken over. Um, this is a reality that I think that us as Michigan fans may have to face, and it's not a a diss to JJ. It's not to say it's not black or white, right? Um, you said, yes, Joe, we have to reach the conclusion that JJ is maybe good, not great. And you know what, guys? You can do a lot of winning with a good quarterback, especially when he has a diversity of skills, like to be able to run and throw. You can win a lot of football games in college football with a guy like that. And that's okay. That is okay. But sometimes I feel like when you say stuff like that, people take that as, oh, we're jumping on the bandwagon and you're saying the kid sucks. No, being great, it's rare to be great. It's rare. So it's okay to say, kid, yeah, he looks good. He looks good, and he can get better. But right now, he just looks good. Um, let's see, what else do we see here? This just came to mind as well. Um, one position that seems to be kind of thinning out a little bit is a tight end position. Eric All is out for the season, um, and Shoemaker did not play today. Now I don't know the nature of Shoemaker's injury. I don't know if it's going to be something that is lingering throughout the rest of the season, um, but it has essentially thrusted, uh, um, our third string quarterback, is it Loveland, into the fold, in which he's received high praise from this coaching staff, and they're really high on him. He made some plays today, which is great to see. But it's something to note. The tight end position is vital to this offense. It seems to be the safety blanket for our quarterbacks. They love throwing to the tight ends whenever they need a first down, um, and also to the running game. So, uh, it's something to note. You never want to see an important positional group thinning out due to injury, but at least you can have the confidence that the guy in there can play. But I really do hope that Schoonmaker gets back, because two good tight ends is better than one, and having more diversity and maybe having both of them out there at the same time is helps our offense. Even if it's just from giving the defense to something to look at or to consider in terms of assignments. Just I'll note that as well. Um, Another thing, guys, I've been noticing, I don't know if you guys have seen it as well, and that gets me really excited about the present and also the future, is the Will Johnson, his play. He's getting more playing time. It seems like he's making pretty good plays here and there pretty much every game. As we all know, if you don't know, he's a highly talented kid coming out of high school. I think a 5-star corner. So to see that talent get on the field and start to show itself on a consistent basis, that's really good to see, and it's going to be very, very necessary, especially versus those receivers down in Columbus. Uh, Daniel G. Relax on the defense. They haven't played an elite offense yet. Well, that's true. But to be honest, you can do that. We fall into that trap sometimes, and I'm assuming you're referring to Michigan's defense. We fall into that trap a lot at times, where we are careful to give a team credit because of who they played, and sometimes we get so caught up in that we don't give them even the small amount of credit they should get for their execution. And I'm not saying there's no legitimacy to what you're saying, Daniel. There is. But did Michigan play any elite offices, going into the Ohio State game last year? No. I won't say they did. And I think they did a pretty solid job. They did enough to help them to win the game. So um, I think the main things that you want to see is, okay, the consistent things that this Michigan defense does, can it be applicable and effective versus a better offense? And let's kind of go through the list of what this Michigan defense does consistently. They tackle well. From an assignment standpoint, it's rare where you see that they blow an assignment and a team's receiver or tight end or running back is wide open and no one's near them. So that's good. And also, I would say that their pass rush has been pretty effective, especially the later half in the season. There's no one dominant guy per se, but it's a group effort. And they do a pretty good job of hitting you in ways and pretty much hitting you with different guys that you don't really expect. So that makes you feel pretty good about, look, no, we're not going to go and shut down Ohio State's offense. That's not going to happen. They're going to score their points. But can we make it difficult at times? I believe so. I believe we could do enough. I believe our rush defense with Mason Graham and Mozzie Smith can do a good enough job to control the interior of the line of scrimmage, not allow Travion Henderson to break too many runs. As I saw that Williams got Carter off today, so I don't believe he's going to play, but I guess we'll find out. And essentially put Ohio State in obvious passing situations. Yeah, I think that gives you a chance to, hang in there. I just want to be real. Hey, I'm with you, man. If there's anybody that's always trying to find different ways we can get better and constantly preaching those points, it's me. So I'm with you. But I think the reality is that there are going to be some question marks about this team, just like it will be for Ohio State. And you're just going to have to bank on what Michigan does well. It's going to come down to who can execute their strengths more than the other team. That's what happened last year. That's what's going to happen this year. And so we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Why does Henning never get any touches besides punts and kicks? This is a really good observation. And he's one of those guys where, AJ Henning, even last year, most of the time when you did see him on offense, it was like on a reverse sweep or something like that. You don't really see him lining up and in a slot or, I think every now and then we've seen him be in the backfield as a running back, kind of playing like that Deebo Samuels type of role like he does with the 49ers. But no, he's not for, the type of explosion he does have. He really isn't in a mix of this offense. And once again, it goes back to the creativity, right? Or lack thereof, for this coaching staff on offense. And, for better or worse, it's gotten them where they are. But I think it's definitely something I've noticed as well. I agree with you on this, especially when he sometimes likes to get off that one hop. It's like, dude, you're literally one bad handle of the ball from giving up an easy touchdown. I will hope that he does not take those chances in the bigger games because that's the last thing we need is give up a really, really bad field position or an easy touchdown because we wanted to, make a last split decision to, grab a punt. Yeah, I would assume you would think that his coaches are talking to him about that. I don't know if they gave him the green light, say, hey, if you think you can get it, go ahead. But hopefully they have drilled in his head. Look, just you better be sure you're gonna get that ball. Other than that, do the smart thing, get away from it, so our offense can get on the field. Yeah, it's very possible. Look, I mean, you're an athlete, you want to make plays. You're not getting off, and that's just the only time you get the ball in your hands. So yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you definitely, man, I got the ball, want to make a play. Definitely. But at the end of the day, it's about winning and not hurting your team. If you can't help your team in that situation in terms of you can't get any more yards, there's no room for you to catch the ball and make a move, don't hurt your team by causing a turnover. So I'm okay with you having that itchiness and that urge. That's good to have that hunger. But make sure you're protecting yourself and your teammates. Yeah, GOJ, I agree with you on that. And it's one of those things where what's intoxicating about it, I did say the word intoxicating when it came to this, is it's an energy and a mindset that I believe that is contagious and it spreads to the entire team. It's a mindset that we're going to dominate you physically and we're going to break you. And we don't think that you can beat us in this type of game. You're not going to do it. We're going to come at you. We're going to come at you. We're going to come at you. And you can know it's coming. And you can't stop it. You may not, We may not gas you down the field, but we're going to take a step, 3, 4 steps each time. Steps equals yards, and this soliloquy going on. And, by the time we get down the other side of the field, you're going to be gassed, and then we're going to run you over. That was a very detailed picture I painted, but that's the mantra of Michigan is. And that can work and will work versus 95% of the opponents they're going to play. The question is, has Ohio State fixed their issues to combat that this year? We'll find out. Let's see what Marcus said here. Well, first, let's see something from Matthew. Last season, JJ seemed to hit every throw opportunity available to him. What is different this year? If I was to take a guess, I think he just gets a little bit too amped. I think he gets a little too excited. Because I think his nature, like he's a natural gunslinger. And gunslingers love to throw the football. They love to show their arm. They love to make plays, explosive plays down the field. And so I think he gets a little excited. And part of that is due to the fact that they don't have that many opportunities that come up in general. So it's like he gets the right play call. He sees the right opening as a play is going on, and he gets too excited. I think those are factors that are happening to him. And he has to find a way to relax, trust his mechanics, and, make the timely and right throw. Ohio State's going to make JJ a legend or the fall guy. I can see that. It will be interesting from a Michigan standpoint internally as fans. Let's say GOJ is right, and we go to play Ohio State and we're not able to be as effective running the football. And it's clear that JJ had to make a couple of throws. He wasn't able to do it. We'll be the conversation. Kate won, JJ didn't. It won't be all fair. I'm just painting a scenario if it happened. That will be interesting. It will be interesting. And unfortunately, due to JJ's inconsistency at times, that is a fair potential scenario. Is he prepared to win that type of football game? I can't say that for certain at this point. And that's and that sucks. That's and it has nothing to do with talent. It's about, do you show the right characteristics? Are you doing the right things? Are you making the timely throws? Are you keeping your composure under pressure? And he's gotten better. His decision making has been better week to week compared to when he first started. No question about it. But that spottiness, man, is still there. It's definitely still there. Let's see. Absolutely. It's easier when you're coming off the bench and you don't have the weight of being a starter and being the guy that got to get the whole team down the field consistently. I agree with that. It's definitely a lot more pressure. No, Cade didn't win it himself. I mean, look, Hassan Haskins had 5 touchdowns that game, but in this scenario would be, especially when DOJ brought up, is that if Ohio State is playing a strong box versus Michigan's offense, and we're not able to run the ball effectively, and it's putting the ball more in JJ's hands, and JJ is not able to come through, does it have the unfair or fair? We don't, there'll probably somewhere in the middle perception that, wow, we won with K being a quarterback, but we couldn't with JJ. Those are things just happens in sports, fair or not, but no, it wasn't all Cade. The reason why we won. And to be quite honest, from an execution standpoint, outside of a few runs here and there, this offense, from a play calling perspective, looks very similar to last year, with a few more wrinkles with JJ's mobility. But from a play calling standpoint, they're pretty much very similar. Very similar. I'm more happy the way we're going to OSU game than in Harbaugh's first couple of years? Absolutely. Look, you know, one of the natural reasons why you may feel pretty good, I know it's why I feel a lot better going to this year's game, is due to we slayed the dragon. And it was like that situation where we could just never get over the hump. We can never go on the hump. We're constantly, no matter how our season is going, good or bad, we play OSU and we get our doors blown off. But to finally get past them last year, it allowed me as a fan to celebrate, but it allowed me to breathe. Like we did it. We can do it, right? When you're getting your butt kicked, what it felt like consistently for 20 years straight, you start to doubt yourself. Like, man, maybe we'll never get them again. So I agree with you on that, Jesse. I really do. Now, if you're just joining us, guys, you're not hearing a lot of Nebraska, Michigan breakdown. It's because it's just not a ton to break down. This was a very vanilla game. This was a get in and get out game. Let's get in, let's play hard, let's try to stay healthy, and let's get out. Easy dub. And that's exactly what they did. There wasn't really anything that happened in today's game that showed you that, hey, this player looks like he's getting better. This player looks like he's progressing. It was pretty much what it is. And they did their job. So, hey, it's just not a lot of the critique there. Hello, Jeanette. It might seem like a funny question to ask, but is Michigan positively a better team right now compared to the same point last season? I think they are. I believe they are, Janet. I think last year, and part of it is due to the mindset, I would say. When you're able to get over the hump, Janet, it's almost like getting that monkey off your back, right? And so from a psychological standpoint, I say yes. On paper, I think they're better. I think their receiving core is better, even though they don't use them the way we would like. I think their tight end core is more diverse, even though they don't have Eric All, but Shoemaker and Loveland seem like a really good tandem. The running back group is deeper with Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum. Defensively, I thought it was more of a two-man show with David Ajabo and Aiden Hutchinson last year. This year, it's more of by committee. It could be Mike Morris, it could be Oki, it could be Mason Graham, it could be Mozzie Smith. Sometimes they send Barrett and Colson, some of the linebackers, some blitzes for quarterback pressure. So you really never know where it's coming from. And Gregerson, I think as well, is one of the backup rush ends for this team. So I think they're more diverse there. No, they lose Jackson Hill in the safety position, but I think they stayed pretty much solid, and I think our corners play has been better overall collectively this year. So I think team to team, paper to paper, last year to this year, they're better. They're better, and I think a little bit more diverse in how they can attack you. Maybe not as many quote unquote stars, but maybe some on the rise, but a lot more solidified, good players that are experienced, and I'll be ready for the moment. So I know that was a very long-winded answer, but I wanted to kind of give you the reason why I think they're better. Maybe not by a lot, right? I'm not saying they're a totally different team, a much better team, but I think they're slightly better than they were last year. Let's see. Before we get out of here, any last few one. All right. 10-0 for the first time since 2006. Let's enjoy this ride. And yes, we will. Let's just hope it doesn't end the same way it did in 2006. Very painful, very fun game, but very painful ending. Very for me, one of the games in terms of the build up and guys, didn't Bo Schembechler pass like the day before or the day of or something like that? Like it was more than just. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot going into that game. Yeah, Troy Smith, Ohio State, who was a Heisman Trophy, had a Heisman Trophy winner. On one side of the ball, you had Michigan legends like Mike Hart and Lamar Woodley, Chad Henne, on the other side of the ball. I mean that was that game was one of the biggest and most highly entertaining games in this long storied rivalry. So no, we're definitely going to enjoy the moment, but let's just hope from a Michigan standpoint, we end it with a win this time, and I think it's a good chance we will. I really do. But until Wednesday show, hopefully more news comes out about injuries and how guys are feeling. Um, I know Keegan, one of our tackles, did not play today. I know he got banged up last week versus Rutgers. Um, I didn't anticipate him playing, but he's one of those guys we want to look out for. We definitely know offensive line as healthy as possible and full go. So hopefully there's some good news about him going into this week. If not to play, at least him being on track to play against OSU. The same thing for Mike Morris. Hopefully he is not too banged up, and regardless of how he feels for Illinois, is he on track to play versus Ohio State? So as of now, guys, that's where we stand. Michigan is 10-0. We're the number 3 team in the country, baby. We are right where we want to be. And on Wednesday show, we'll do a breakdown of Illinois and the Fighting Illini. They're coming here to Ann Arbor on a 2-game losing streak. And knowing Desmond, he probably will position this as a trap game, which it technically does meet the criteria for one. And we'll get into it. So as of now, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday evening. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're wondering where Des is, as I said earlier in the stream, that he's enjoying a much-needed vacation with his lovely wife. But he will rejoin us next week. And so I'll see you Wednesday. Take care.